the other thing that I wanted to talk about today, obviously, is the Lancet study that came out. This is an important medical journal, and they had some damning findings on Gaza. This is from July 5th. Counting the dead in Gaza, difficult but essential. By June 19, 2024, 37,396 people had been killed in the Gaza Strip since the attack by Hamas and the Israeli invasion in October 2023. I think this is the one, right? Some officials and news agencies have used this development designed to improve data quality to undermine the veracity of the data. That some of the dead, there was no actual, I don't think it's a study, it's a correspondence, I believe. Yeah. Basically, what ended up happening is because of how difficult it is, because of how unimaginably difficult it is to actually collect an accurate death toll from Gaza, given the fact that Israel has destroyed and completely collapsed the healthcare infrastructure and basically killed pretty much every journalist in the Gaza Strip, killing 5 in one day, 2 days prior, reading literal Qatar propaganda, yeah, as opposed to reading what, literal Zionist propaganda? Like, what do you mean? Pro-Israel propaganda is what I should be reading? Lancet is not Qatar propaganda, you idiot. What are you talking about? I can't believe you just 4chan green texted in here. You are the most disgusting person. Pick a goddamn struggle, dude. The Qatar propaganda that you're referencing is simply just summarizing the Lancet article. What a freak, dude. Imagine being a 45-year-old who's still green texting, imagining the halcyon days of 4chan. Oh, we memed Donald Trump into existence. What a pathetic loser you are. Anyway, Israel's deliberately destroyed the healthcare infrastructure. Israel's deliberately killed any and every person that is responsible for like civil governance in Gaza, pretty much. And for that reason, obviously, the accurate death toll is virtually impossible to assess. According to Gaza's ministry, the cumulative effects of Israel's war on Gaza could mean the true death toll could reach more than 186,000 people, according to a study published by the journal Lancet. According to Gaza's Ministry of Health, more than 38,000 Palestinians have been killed since Israel launched its military offensive on October 7 in the wake of the deadly Hamas attacks. The study pointed out that the death toll is higher because the official toll does not take into account thousands of dead buried under the rubble and indirect deaths due to destruction of health facilities, food distribution systems, and other public infrastructure. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Lancet is one of the oldest and most prestigious trusted medical journals in the world. Like, it's ridiculous. Now, it still doesn't matter, even if it's not 180,000, even if it's 40,000, you think that that's acceptable? Of course not. Conflicts have indirect health implications beyond the direct harm from violence, the study said, and even if the Gaza war ends immediately, it will continue to cause many indirect deaths in the coming months and years through things like diseases. I think this was slightly misinterpreted in some leftist circles. This is an empirical study. All it says that going by other conflicts, indirect deaths during and after the war, usually 3 to 15 times the number of direct deaths, and applying it to Gaza gives this large number that is overall deaths as a result of the war, now and into the future. I think it's a reasonable estimate given the destruction we've seen, but remember, this is a letter to the editor, not a study. Yeah, no, I agree with you. The estimation comes from analyzing other conflicts. The study said that the death toll is expected to be far larger given that much of Gaza's infrastructure has been destroyed. There are shortages of food, water, and shelter, and the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees has seen its funding cut. After applying a conservative estimate of 4 indirect deaths per 1 direct death, it is not implausible to estimate that 186,000 or even more deaths could be attributable to the Gaza war, the study found. It's not making a claim that like 186,000 Gazans have died, and given the crumbling healthcare infrastructure, we just don't know. It is understandable to estimate that the number of Palestinians that have been murdered in Gaza is most likely higher than the 38,000 figure, like right now, that is dead under the rubble. Having said that, however, this is not an estimation that is currently dead. Such a number would represent almost 8% of Gaza's pre-war population of 2.3 million. The Lancet study noted that Israeli intelligence services, the UN, and the World Health Organization all agree that claims of data fabrication leveled against the Palestinian authorities in Gaza over his death toll are implausible. Hamas run. We won't know until years after this war ends. We don't even know the exact numbers of how many died in 90% of wars. This is literally made up. You can't dispute that. Hamas run. Lancet is a Hamas run publication. The UN is a Hamas run organization. Everything is Hamas. Your mommy made your chicken tendies too warm in the middle and it hurt the top of your mouth. It burned it. Now you have a scar. Ouchie. Your mom is Hamas. At some point, those who defend Israel so vociferously, so unconditionally, will recognize that they have deluded themselves so much that they are basically insane, like clinically. One day, if you have a sense of shame when that time comes, you will probably lie about the positions that you took. Following since 2019, you know where this guy's from? I know. Anyway, it's all good. I wish you well. Ultimately, this finding or this estimation is damning, but the reality is even more damning, regardless of whether it's 180,000 or, 38,000 over the span of multiple months. It is obvious that Gaza is a kill zone. And yes, 972 magazine did a insane coverage. These are the first personal testimonies coming out of the Israeli soldiers. I'm bored, so I shoot. The Israeli army's approval of the free-for-all violence in Gaza. Something that I mentioned before, that the chaos that you see on the ground, the disorganization that you see on the ground that leads to, the World Central Kitchen bombing, for example, is actually by design. These soldiers' testimonies will reflect that. Do you understand? It's open season. That's why you have the World Central Kitchen bombing and many other bombings that are called into question. This is the way that they are conducting themselves because they don't give a shit. They want to kill as many people as possible. They want to make Gaza impossible to live in. That is the goal. I'm bored, so I shoot. The Israeli army's approval of free-for-all violence in Gaza. Israeli soldiers described the near total absence of firearm regulations in the Gaza war, with troops shooting as they please, setting homes ablaze, and leaving corpses in the streets, all with their commander's permission. Early June, Al Jazeera aired a series of disturbing videos revealing what it described as summary executions. Israeli soldiers shooting dead several Palestinians walking near the coastal road in the Gaza Strip on 3 separate occasions. In each case, the Palestinians appeared unarmed and did not pose any imminent threat to the soldiers. Such footage is rare due to the severe constraints faced by journalists in the besieged enclave and the constant danger to their lives. But these executions, which did not appear to have any security rationale, are consistent with the testimonies of 6 Israeli soldiers who spoke to 972 magazine and local call following their release from active duty in Gaza. 972 magazine, people shot as they pleased with all their might. B said it was difficult to distinguish civilians from the combatants in Gaza, claiming that members of Hamas often walk around with other weapons, but as a result, every man between the ages of 16 and 50 is suspected of being a terrorist. It is forbidden to walk around, and everyone who's outside is suspicious. If we see someone in a window looking at us, he's a suspect. You shoot. The army's perception is that any contact with the population endangers the forces, and a situation must be created in which it is forbidden to approach the soldiers under any circumstances. I don't know. I mean, this is just a reiteration of what we've known about what they're doing. There you go. Nothing groundbreaking in this article. Yeah, it's gut-wrenching, but it's not necessarily groundbreaking. Complete collapse, and we're paying for it. And both of the people that are currently the expected candidates are on board with what is going on there. I don't know what else to say about it, dude. We're not gonna cover the Hannibal directive on October 7. I'm sorry. We know this already. We've known this already. We've talked about this a million times over. Half of the Gaza news at this stage is basically just a reiteration of every single thing I talked about on October 8. No disrespect to the chatter that just posted this. I know it's you're doing your best here. It's just we literally talked about this on October 8. People thought it was unimaginable. The vindication I feel in this situation does not feel good. It just feels bad. Bums me out.